Nothing is going to give a person hope in dua and in Allah's power more than the story of Sayyidina Zakariya alayhi salam. Sayyidina Zakariya is a prophet. He is about 90 years old. He's been asking for a son for a long time. He's been asking for a son because none of his followers, none of his disciples, none of the Bani Israel were good enough to carry the mantle that he expected and that he wanted. Now Sayyidina Zakariya himself, as a prophet that's 90 years old, took inspiration from Sayyidina Maryam. He went downstairs and this little girl, 13, 12 years old, is receiving fruits of the winter in the summertime, the fruits of the summer in the wintertime. She's worshiping Allah in the temple, and Jibreel alayhi salam brings her fruits, brings her food, and he gets inspiration from that. She says, Maryam, anna laki had? Where do you get this, Maryam? قالت هو من عند الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. It's from Allah. He gives people, whoever he wants, anything without taking anything for account, meaning it's not a transaction. Allah does not need transactions. There's nothing he needs from you. Sometimes we think, I have to do so much in order for Allah to give me. That's not how it is. Allah is generous as his attribute. Pre-eternally and forever he will be generous, and it may come to us through dua. So he took inspiration from that. And he began praying more than he already prays. So he begins by naming all the reasons that he feels he's weak. And this is something we're going to talk about in the future, that when you bring your weakness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is part of our servanthood. Sayyidina Ali said, never bring your weakness to people, but bring your weakness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't humiliate yourself in front of people, but do bring your weakness to Allah, your ajiz, and don't try to be courageous with Allah. First thing he says, قال رب إني وهن العظم مني. My bones are frail. واشتعل الرأس شيبة. My hair is flaming white. It's so white, it's almost like it attracts your eye. Just like red attracts your eye, just like a red fire would attract your eye. His hair is so bright white, his beard is so bright white that it attracts your eye. اشتعل الرأس شيبة. ولم أكن بدعائك رب شقيا. Never before did I make dua and lose faith in you. Never before did I make dua and that you didn't answer me. And I never lose faith in my prayer. These are all preconditions. He's teaching us how to make dua here. وإني خفت الموالي من ورائي. I'm worried my people behind me, the generations to come, they can't do it. This is why the first ayah says he made a soft, quiet, private dua. نادى ربه نداء خفيا. Some things you don't want other people to know. There are some dua you make that could offend somebody. That's okay, as long as you're not asking to harm that person. But if you're saying, so-and-so is no good, replace him. So-and-so, no, is not a good kid, give me a better kid. He's saying, my followers, they're no good, bring me someone better. Continues on, he says, إني خفت من وراءي وكانت امرأتي عاقر فهب لي من لدنك وليا. Ask for a righteous child, a wali. يرثني ويرث من آل يعقوب. Not only be righteous, he'll take the mantle from me. ولكن يرثني أيضا. He's going to do the job. You're going to have a righteous kid that has no business with your business. He doesn't take the mantle from you. So he's saying, I want him to take the mantle from me. يرثني ويرث من آل يعقوب واجعله ربي رضيا. And make him somebody that pleases you. Okay. So he asked for these three things. What does Allah say? Immediately, on that day, after years and decades of no answer, on that day, he heard a voice. Ya Zakariya, inna nubashiruka bighulam. We give you good news of a young boy. In other words, that he will live. He won't just be a baby and die. He's telling you he will be a ghulam. That's the scariest part in the olden days. From birth to maturity, kids would die all the time. All right. So Allah tells him he's going to be a ghulam. That means your child will live. Okay. That's number one gift he gave him. Ismuhu Yahya. His name is Yahya, ever living. Okay. Now there's a secret about that. I'll tell you later. Lam naj'al lahu min qablu samiyya. Nobody has been named Yahya before him. Okay. And in another ayah, he says that he's going to be a Nabi min as-salihin. So you asked for someone radi, Allah gave you Nabi. In other words, you asked for someone who's righteous. He didn't ask for a prophet. He asked for a righteous son. But Allah gave him something more than he asked. And this is the meaning of Al-Kareem, the generous, is that Allah gives you more than you ask for. You want him radi? Allah made him Nabi, prophet, not just a pious man, prophet. You're saying Zakariya, his wife is Aqir. His wife is Ajuz. So aqir and ajuz are different things. Aqir means even when she was young, she can't have kids. So now on top of that, she's in the menopausal period, meaning she can't have kids. Even if she was perfectly healthy before that, now she can't have kids. There's two reasons. And she was very old at that time, physically cannot handle pregnancy either. Sayyidina Zakariya was extremely old. Despite all of these mawana or obstacles, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered him. So now Sayyidina Zakariya just got an answer from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and look what happens. His human side comes out. Okay? He says, Anna yakun, how can this be? Wamra'ati aqir, when she's old. And all of these things would stop us from having children. Here's the crux of the whole point. And why this story is the greatest inspiration. It's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him the plain truth. قَالَ كَذَلِكَ قَالَ رَبُّكَ. How is this going to happen? Because your Lord said so. Do you think anything has power? Obstacles have no power. Nobody has power except kun fayakun. قَالَ كَذَلِكَ قَالَ رَبُّكَ. Because your Lord said so. And he reminds him, هُوَ عَلَيَّ هَيِّن. This is extremely easy for me. Hayyin is the weakest word for weakness. Like, this is extremely weak. Like a gnat. Extremely weak. On top of that, he reminds him, وَقَدْ خَلَقْتُكَ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَلَمْ تَكُ شَيْئًا. I created you before this, and you were not a thing at all. He was a thing in Allah's knowledge, but in this world, he was nothing. Likewise, all of us. So this is the aqidah, that why the story of Zakariya is so inspirational to us. It gives us such an extreme, a 90 and 80-year-old man. Some people say he was 100 and his wife was 90, having a child. And Allah says, this is very easy. And the proof of its ease, I created you before all this. Nothing that we ask will come close to the obstacles that Sayyidina Zakariya faced. And Allah says, Hu alayhi. Now, if Allah puts something in the Quran like that ayah, we should take it that it means that for us too. It's very easy for Allah to do and to grant whatever we're asking. One of the obstacles we have in our mind is that what I'm asking is too hard. It's too difficult. We should always remember the story of Zakariya. If you liked the video that you just watched, subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications, and if you really liked what you just saw, support us at patreon.com/Safina Society.